The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And we went to the State of the City address, otherwise known as the campaign kickoff speech of Mayor Sam Sutter. Well, I don't even know where to begin. I've got about 17 small pages, so it's not. I've got about 17 pages.
And I've got the speech.
And we've got the speech, but you know, we'll get. Let's get right to it. The mayor was on the radio earlier in the morning saying there was going to be no specifics, and believe me, did he hold true to that promise?
Oh, that's for sure.
Nothing but platitudes and you know, promises and the same old hackneyed kind of expressions that we got. It was a speech of, well, I'm going to start reading from my notes. He began by talking about the storied history of Fall River. I don't know what story he's been reading, but I'll give him a story to read called The Untold Story of Labor, when Fall River's mill workers who lived in abject poverty were testifying in front of Senate committees on how the workers were abused, and the rich people in the Highlands garnered all the wealth. You know, and then he used words like synergy. Oh, I get excited when we use those sesquipedalian words. You know, and it's like synergy. You know, the sum is greater than the sum of the whole. You know, working together, it's even more potent. Well, guess what? It was 5 minutes of opening BS, and that speech, if BS were bricks, that speech could have built a chimney to the moon and had bricks left over.
Chip, it's very funny because, you know, everybody who makes $100,000 a year was thanked very clearly by the mayor. And, you know, honestly, I was, you know, it was taking people to push me back in my seat because I wanted to say so many different things about this line of crap that was served by C. Samuel Crapbag. I think that's what the C stands for, Crapbag. Because I'll tell you, you know, he toted honesty, integrity, transparency. I haven't seen any of that yet. None of it. Not one bit of this transparency. So what's he talking about?
Well, you know, we definitely haven't seen transparency. I can't speak to the, you know, but the fact is, look, this administration has been very difficult to find. I mean, he was known as the, we were going to create a website for Sam Sutter sightings because it's so rare to see him around anywhere. But the fact is, he made some statements, and this is well, I won't say it's a direct quote because I'm very judicious about making a quote exactly accurate, but I wrote it, and it's a paraphrase. But he said, "We are righting the ship and on the way to prosperity." I don't know what city he's looking at, but righting the ship is not just good intentions. And, you know, the old adage, if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. Well, all we heard was a litany of, you know, kudos to all his people, his cronies, and all the people who were making the big salaries. And then we got to the meat. And he said, fiscally, we are out of the shadows and into the light with the budget. Well, if a regurgitation of the budget is casting light on the budget, I don't know what it is. But then he spoke at length about the shared sacrifice.
If I heard shared sacrifice one more time, I was going to get up and scream. Because I'm going to tell you right now what shared sacrifice is. Mr. Mayor, lead by example. Okay? You want shared sacrifice? You didn't show any sacrifice whatsoever when you hired 2 brand new people to the city of Fall River, racking on more money. All right, so let's start with shared sacrifice in the 6th floor. Mr. Mayor, get rid of the people you hired. Get rid of the unnecessary dead weight and the patronage jobs you created.
Well, you know, I guess his definition of sharing is different than mine. I don't think it's a shared sacrifice when you, number one, have taken $4 million a year out of the pockets of retired and active city employees and their health care, shifted that cost to them, and now you're going to raise taxes and fees to the maximum. And we said, well, we all got to bite the bullet. Well, guess what? When a city administrator who's making $120,000 a year takes a 10% pay cut, it is not a shared responsibility when someone who is on a fixed income making $14,000 or $15,000 is living in a house that they raise their children in and is trying to hang on to that house and barely making it. And now you're gonna increase taxes again and increase fees because we're sharing a sacrifice. Well, you know, that's not sharing a sacrifice. That's victimization. You know, you're victimizing the people who didn't cause this problem. You, the government, caused this problem. Your misspending, your mismanagement of our money created this problem. It's like someone hitting someone with a truck, putting him in the hospital in a full body cast, and then asking that person in a full body cast to fix the guy's truck. You know, that's absurd. It's absolutely ridiculous. And he talked about the great potential we have within our citizens and our workforce. You know, I guess you have been hiding. Our workforce has been depleted to a degree I've never seen. It's unprecedented. Everyone in this community who's educated ends up getting a job out of this community and either leaves the community or doesn't work in this community. And they probably don't spend most of their money in this community. Our workforce has been relegated to people who are undereducated, underqualified, and are basically only can get the most marginal jobs. And those jobs historically are the last people hired and the first people fired. But again, you know, we get all these euphemisms. And then the credit to Kenny Fiola, the man who's been in charge, the glowing bouquets thrown at an individual who's been there for 20 years. And look at the state of this city. It's a disaster.
It's always been.
But I got to say this. I was on the Heritage State Park Board when Kenny Fiola gave us a report about the carousel when they were talking about bringing the carousel in, and he guaranteed 500,000 tourists with the carousel. Well, we all know how good that went, and we've said this before. The fact is, listen, all he did was pat his people on the back, throw them bouquets to try to justify their existence, and say the bottom line here is that, again, the taxpayer takes it on the chin. And, you know, in order to change this city, we have to change the way we do business. We can't look at a transition team that is made up of the old guard that put us on this path and a bunch of people from out of town who don't have a clue. And this data that he uses, he's data-driven. Well, data is, you know, there's an old Taoist saying that knowledge is merely the gateway to the house of wisdom. And I told the mayor this face-to-face yesterday. Data is like a tree in a forest. And you have to take that data and interpret it and apply it correctly in order for the data to be useful. You can't say that we had the best streets in the area because you got in your car and you drove to New Bedford. Well, did you drive down every single street in Fall River? Did you drive down every single street in New Bedford? Are you qualified to make that call? You know, data can be used and manipulated. And I gave him an example last night. There was once a study in Fall River called the Coopers and Lybrand study That study resulted in a recommendation for the fire department to have less personnel on at night. And because their data showed that there are fewer fires at night than there are during the day. And that's true. Because during the day you have grass fires and dumpster fires and car fires. But what it didn't take into account was that 90% of the fires that are large loss fires that cause the greatest damage and the most property loss and the greatest loss of life occurs in the evening. So in reality, the National Fire Protection Association understands that we should have larger crews in the evening. So there's a classic example of how data can be used to come to a wrong conclusion if not interpreted properly. You know, and it's not about data, it's about reality. Listen, we have the second highest percentage of people living below the poverty level in this community. We have the second lowest household income and individual income. And with all these euphemisms and all these pie-in-the-sky promises, we're not going to fix this city because it's money that fixes things. If you leave money in the people's pockets, they can spend money and you have businesses. And I cited this to the mayor yesterday when he walked up to me. It's not coincidental that Newton and Cambridge, of cities of our size, have the most businesses. They also have the least amount of people below the poverty level and the highest household income. Fall River is at the bottom. And it's not coincidental that we're second from the bottom, and we're also the second highest in people living below the poverty level, and we have the second lowest household income of cities of our size in the Commonwealth. You know, so we don't need Milton Friedman here or the Office of Economic Destruction to tell us that the problem in Fall River is we don't have discretionary cash. And if we continue down this road of giving TIFs to people who are building apartments, which 50% or better are going to be occupied by low-income, subsidized housing, we are not on the road to fixing this city. The first thing we need is to realize what we've got to work with. And now I'm going to quote a man from the UFC, a former wrestler, when he did the UFC, and he said, "You can't make chicken salad with chicken crap." So you have to realize what we got. We should be investing in training people in Fall River for jobs. They've been doing it in Europe for years. Germany has one of the most premier systems to train people in trades and filter them off into the trades. They're doing it all over this country. They're teaching people how to weld and getting them into the shipyards. They're teaching people, usable, marketable skills that we can actually get people jobs. You know, Kenny Fiola touting, "Here comes the casino, here comes another panacea for all our problems," does not change Fall River. What changes Fall River is prioritizing our spending, spending our money where it belongs, and working on what we have in a different manner. I remember a time when this city had, and the mayor also said we didn't tax enough. Well, there were times when we had $10 and $12 million in a reserve fund. How can you justify a tax increase when we've got that much money? And I'm going to tell you, and next Tuesday I will be at the city council making this speech all over again. I remember a time when we didn't raise taxes, and at that time we had a 300-man fire department, a 300-man police department, a DPW twice the size that we have now, and we had a service-oriented government. We delivered essential services to the taxpayer. You know what we didn't have during that time? We didn't have a city administrator. We didn't have 4 people working with the treasurer. We didn't have all these layers and layers and layers of useless political cronyism. We didn't have coaches, COOs in the school department. We didn't have deans of students. We had none of these jobs. Over the years, we've created this massive upside-down pyramid, and I continue to say this, and I continue to say that we cannot survive doing this. We've created this maze of jobs at the top, and the answer in government is always create another position to evaluate the other position to get to where we're going. No, it's the opposite. A city is not a business. A city is not here to make a profit. If a city was a business, we would have been out of business a long time ago. A city is like your home. It is a home. It's our home collectively. It's our home. And it should be run like a home. You have to pay your electric light bill, you have to pay your heating bill, you have to pay your mortgage. And then if you want to do something extra and you want a little extra, you have to figure out a way to save money. And then when you have a little extra money, you can do a little extra thing. And it's a nonprofit. What is a city for? A city is here to provide us with essential services: education, public safety, trash pickup. After that, it's all window dressing. We had a mayor once that ran a city that had far more employees, far more services, and money. So think about it. Politicians use data and rah-rah speeches like, here we go, look at all these people. It was like a pep rally last night. That was by far the worst State of the City address I've ever heard. There were no specifics, there were no numbers, there was no plan. It was a love fest for cronies and a cheerleading for us, telling us how great the city is, how wonderful the city is. And guess what? The only way you can fix something is first acknowledge that we got something to fix. And I'm tired of people telling me how great this city is. I want some people to try to make this city great. Over to you, CJ.
Well, you know, Chip, I'm probably just as frustrated, if not more so, than you. I've spoken to these city councilors. Okay, I still believe all 9 of them need to go. They are complicit in making this mess. But last night's speech was a slap in the face to the people of Fall River, to the taxpayers of Fall River. This mayor bordered on blatant lies, okay? He credited Carol Fiola single-handedly attacking the opiate addiction problem. You know what, Mr. Mayor? Maybe you should check your facts. A lot of your facts, which you had to stumble over last night when you gave your speech, because Mike Rodrigues led that charge. As a matter of fact, not this time around, but the previous time when they had an addictions forum that went around the state, I testified at it. And Mike Rodrigues had, and I'm not a big supporter of any politician, but I believe in giving credit where credit is due. Okay, and that was a slap in the face to a senior member of our legislative delegation. Okay, and to not communicate to these people and to say that you are going to utilize the state legislature, the state legislators, the state delegation, I think is absurd that we're going to believe that. We can't believe anything you've said. You said transparency. We haven't seen any of it. We've always gotten these political campaign speeches. Okay? Mr. Mayor, if you want to look at how a budget should be done, I would ask that you and your 17 magnificent department heads take a peek at budgets from communities such as Newton, Cambridge, Boston. Look how those budgets are done. They don't look like Fall River budgets where you have to kind of connect the dots. They actually are page and page and page. This is what we planned last year. This is what we accomplished. This is what we failed to do, and this is what we're going to add to this year's budget. And they put a budget out that they live in. Not in 6 weeks come back and say, oh, this is an emergency, we need another $2 million. Because that's how our budgets go crazy. When a budget is created, Mr. Mayor, it's written in concrete. It has to be written in concrete. Okay? You can't turn around and say, oh, well, we missed that. We've done a lot of missing that for a lot of years. If your department heads cannot present to the people of Fall River, to the 6th floor, and to the city council a realistic budget that they are going to live within, then they are just as complicit in the lies. It is time for the people of Fall River to unite. And Mr. Mayor, City Council, School Committee, I'm telling you now, the revolution is coming. It's on its cusp. And it is time now for the revolution to begin. Because we can't have this anymore. You ask us for shared sacrifice. Yeah, I don't see any shared sacrifices. I don't see any at all. You tout how wonderful they did for an 86-inch snowfall. Guess what? It was 108. 108. The National Weather Service said it's 108. Where you got 86 from, I don't know. Okay? Just like you got the numbers of, you know, in the 1970s, we were, you know, up until the 1970s, you know, 70 years, 50, first it was 50 years into the 20th century. Then it was 70 years. Oh, maybe I should have said 80 or 90. You're so data-driven, you can't even get it right. Are you so lost in the numbers, Mr. Mayor? Are you truly so lost in the numbers that you cannot get it right? You have people that are sitting there listening to see what you plan on doing. And what you told them was nothing. You told them absolutely nothing. You touted the biopark, which, by the way, Ken Fiola has now destroyed because you've put it in Amazon. I'm not against Amazon, but you know what? Don't tout a biopark that we can't attract anyone to because our people are, to put it bluntly, too stupid. We can't get those people here. We can't get those jobs here. All right? And we've created a biopark that now we're just making it another industrial park in Fall River. Is that what we really want? Is this what we're going to do? Panaceas and lies?
Yeah. Well, CJ, I have to disagree that he did say something to us yesterday. He told the taxpayers of the city of Fall River to bend over.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're getting it again.
Yeah, and the funny thing was...
That's what he said because, you know, the reality is that I did not hear... he said the downtown was coming to life. I mean, that's, you know, why? What are they going to go down to the courthouse? And as I told one of the city councilors, they're going to give a TIF to somebody building apartments that are going to bring in more subsidized housing. And I told them, you know the last high-income person ever to come to Fall River? And they said, who? I said it was Aaron Hernandez, and they brought him here in handcuffs because that's the only way you can get somebody with a high income to come here. Because, you know, reality is that, look, you know, if you drive down a city, you drive down and you go Newport, Rhode Island, the Cape Fall River, top 50 in crime and heroin use. I mean, let's face it, we've got a lot of fixing to do. But I haven't heard one thing to relieve the taxpayers' burden.
Nothing.
I talked to women and men who are retired on fixed incomes that are now paying $80 for prescriptions they were paying $5 for, and it's a mess. I have not heard one word about taxing nonprofits.
Well, you know, and I said that last night.
And you're right, because we all know that Harvard pays $5 million a year to the city of Cambridge for fees.
But, you know, I brought that up to Kathy Ann Viveris last night before the mayor's speech. And she goes, oh, that's voluntary. Fee for services is voluntary. I said, then fine. Put them on a strictly fee for service. In other words, if the fire department has to go, they get billed. The police department has to go, they get billed. Okay, EMS has to go, they get billed. Everything we do for them, they get billed. Is that what they want? Are they going to be able to budget that? Well, and you know, fees in lieu of taxes is becoming a nationwide norm. And don't say that it's voluntary, because you know what? One way or the other, you get them to comply.
Well, it can be voluntary, but it also can be, it's mandatory, because people, you know, for your history lesson, I think I said it on an older show, the evolution of professional fire departments came when insurance companies created and subsidized fire departments, and what they did was they put a placard on the side of the building. And if you were insured and you had a fire, the fire department would go and fight the fire. If you weren't insured, they'd let your house burn down. Yeah, but it's true. And I mean, that was the evolution of the professional departments.
Hey.
And then cities and towns said, well, you pay your taxes for fire service, so we're going to give everybody a fire service. But look what's happened now. we cut the fire service. That's an essential service. But you know something? Charlton doesn't want to voluntarily pay the fee. Every time you make a run at Charlton, you charge them. You break it down so you're going to get, you know, if you're going to make $2 million from Charlton voluntarily, well, you figure out a fee structure that'll give us our $2 million for the runs we make at Charlton on a normal basis. The fact is, look, you know, we all got to pay the bill here. It's not shared anything. It's not shared when the rich people, the richest segment of our community, gets a TIF for an apartment building. That is so ludicrous. He's going to pay no taxes. He's going to build a building, put half of the people in there, make low income, and then try to tell the reason we are going to approve this TIF is because these apartments are going to bring higher income people into the city. What human being in his right mind is going to go into a building that's occupied, 50% of the occupants are on Section 8, and you're going to move there voluntarily? Look what happened to Point Gloria. It's not like we haven't learned this lesson once.
We never learn lessons at Fall River.
We're like the kid that puts his hand on a stove. You normally only do it once, but in Fall River, we wouldn't have arms left.
You know, and the funny thing is, I sent out to all the city councilors copies of the law before it even came out on the agenda. And I spoke with Jason Correa last night about this, and he goes, "Oh, Anthony Cudo and Anthony Cordero and Larry Cudo and Macomb all agreed that they're going to dedicate 100% to medium income, you know, moderate income housing, market rate housing." And I said, "Remember Point Gloria?" He didn't want to hear it. He says, "Oh no, this is this is going to get approved because we need this. Yeah. We need it."
It's also coincidental that they're his financial backers.
Exactly. So and now he's going to run for mayor? Well, come on. I mean, let's get real. You know, we are seeing this even now with people running for city council. They're running out to, I saw it last night. I've seen it with other people. They're running out begging support of the old-time guard. Okay? I think they saw Sam Sutter do it with the, you know, running out to the old-time guard and getting, you know, 2 past mayors on board, which some people say are responsible for what we're in. And they think, well, that's what the people of Fall River want. They don't want change. So I'm not going to talk too much about change. And you know what?
Yeah, but they do, CJ. You know, and the thing is that, you know, he talked about our workforce, but, you know, I say our workforce is being depleted. But we have people in this community who are willing to go in the right direction. We can't continue to make the rich richer and the poor poorer. We can't do this any longer. We have to realize that the way we've done business, these political euphemisms and telling everybody this city is wonderful, and if you don't say it's wonderful, you're negative. We have 2 people sitting in the studio today that are assets to the community. We've got Carlos Caesar from the Flint Neighborhood Association, who does a wonderful job at that association. He's been a guest. We have Eddie Costa from the school department, former assistant superintendent. I say, here's a man that is sitting there listening to me talk about programs to educate, to give job training. There's a resource we have. He stays involved in the community. We have all these people that know the right direction, but the problem we have is the people don't allow the people that want to do this to do it because the trough is too deep for these people. They got all their friends, and we've had mayor after mayor bring in their cronies, and they leave, and those jobs remain. Let's change the way we do business. Let's get everybody out that won't change our direction.
I agree. I agree. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.